Everyone, it's Jo. You probably noticed that I might have been here about an hour ago because I ended up doing my Q&A that's in my sports psychology group um, in this group. So if you watched, then great. Hopefully you learned a little bit more about how to deal with sports injuries, which is what it was all about. Um, but it wasn't a problem. I mean, I know that some things like that can sometimes upset people and stress them out. But for me, I realised that I made a mistake when I came back on about half an hour ago to prepare for this Q&A. And all I did is save my video onto my computer and just posted it back onto the other Facebook group. So I apologise if any of you came on live thinking it was going to be for therapists and psychologists and helping you with your Q&As. But all you got learned a bit about sports psychology. So anyway, I'll crack on. I haven't had any come through again within the group, but I've got a few questions that came through as we joined. So I'm going to start with the first one, which was how much to charge clients. And I think in this particular sector, people that are in private practice have a huge dilemma with what to charge. And I get this because I was the same. And when we start in business, there's so many business coaches out there that says, right, we need to be high ticket. You need to be charging at least 3 grand for a training course or a program. And the thing is, when we're therapists and psychologists and counselors, we understand that we've got to have something really special for our clients to be able to invest in something that's so high ticket. So I understand that. But however, I do see a lot of people that have got so much experience really struggling to charge their worth so that they can have their lifestyle and their financial target that they desire. And so I'm going to tell you a little bit about how I seem to articulate how much you should charge clients. So firstly, I'm just going to tell you that I've been a hypnotherapist since 2005. And when I started to become a hypnotherapist, I was probably about 2 years into my Open University degree in psychology. So I didn't have a huge amount of knowledge on there. I'd been cabin crew, a holiday rep in the past, so I didn't have huge amount of coaching experience. And I set up myself in 2005 charging £50 an hour. And when people say to me, I don't know how much to charge, and I have people that are qualified therapists, qualified in psychologists, and they're still worried that they can't charge more than £50 an hour. And the way that I've managed that is to, if you have this struggle about the hourly rate, I would certainly look at putting a program together where the hourly rate does not affect the investment within your clients. So one thing that I think for me personally, and I've experimented with this, is a 12-week program works really well for what I do, because I help gymnasts, figure skaters, dancers overcome mental blocks in sport. I'm very niche in what I do, and just because I do that, I still have. So today I was working with a professional footballer. So just because I've niched down to mental blocks and performance anxiety, which are the two things I like to work with, I still work with other. I've got a hockey player as well, tennis player. So it's not just gymnasts that I work with, but that is what my focus is on. And I have a 12-month program that I think works for people who have mental blocks. And it's about you looking at what it is that you really love to do and putting together a program where you can work out what is needed. And we all can do this, because whether we've been a therapist or we're psychology or we're psychology in training, we do case studies. And when we do case studies, we don't say to that person, I'm just going to see you for one session and then go, well, I'll see you for another. Or we might say, we might have 6. We put a program together. We do a case formulation. And I know therapists do a similar sort of thing. You put together what you think will help that person and to get them the results. And if you can put together a framework, I like the word framework rather than a structure, of 12 weeks where you give them continued support, and where for me, when I do mine, I use a membership site, I have videos, so they don't just get an hour with me talking. They go on there and all the common issues that we find. And I know within, say, mental blocks, that one of the things that I find with mental blocks is that I know it's going to be mainly about the beam. And therefore I can put in a strategy that can help them in the beam. And I don't have to talk about that. So what I do is they go on their membership site. When they come on the program, they can then look at that video, work it out, put the strategy together, and then they come and talk to me about how they are struggling with their mindset within that. Because the strategy is something we can teach on video. We do our magic on the consultation. But what I think happens when we do hourly rates is one-to-one. We're trying to put everything in there together. And we're trying to teach them the techniques. We're trying to help them work out their mind about what's going on for them. And we can't do that all in 1 hour. And if we can then put together this practice of program where they can do all this stuff behind the scenes before they come and see us, they'll get huge results. And this is then we can stop thinking, how much should we charge by the hour? And if you're qualified, then I would really seriously, if you are charging less than £50 an hour and you are charging and you are qualified in your field, really consider whether this is going to work for you to continue, because you can give so much more value by putting it into a program. And I am going to deliver a small program on specifically how to set up your signature program. And this is going to be linked in within my bigger group program, that working with therapists and psychologists, where for 12 weeks we really master that inner game of private practice. So that is about finding out who we serve, getting that messaging across, doing a program that will fit for purpose and charge what we know our customers will pay for. And believe me, I know that clients, if they want you and they see that you can get the results, will pay a lot more than £50 an hour. And if you're a trainee that's in here, because I know there's a lot of trainees, then I can't see why you can't put a package together, because you are learning as you go. And one of the things is my best content comes out when I have just learned something, because I learn it and I deliver it. And now you get into your head and you can work it. You can see how it comes across and how it works with your clients. And you can measure that and you can put that together as a program. So if you are a trainee and you're thinking, I can't do this, I can't charge a huge amount. And okay, I get that when you're training, we are in that learning process, and you wouldn't expect the same as you would if you got somebody qualified. Sometimes it doesn't work that way because we can get set in our ways. But you can start developing this so that you can get that toolkit of things that when you do get to that stage, that you can charge for a particular program, and they're going to get great value for that. They're not going to get that one-to-one time that you just get, and then you don't see them for a week or 2 weeks, and you come back and you spend 10 minutes reviewing what they've done. Whereas this kind of model works in our industry because we know, if we're very clear on who we service, we know the main issues in there that they're going to come with. And we know what those techniques that we use over and over and over again. You think, how many times do you talk to somebody about having a journal? How many times do you speak to somebody about visualization? You can put this all, so you only have to do it once. You do a video, you do a workbook, whatever it is that works for you, and you put it in the program, and then you look at how much you charge for that particular program. And also, if you are a trainee, we all know that there's a lot of expectation to go out there for free, and to get your experience, you have to volunteer. And I do get this to a degree because I think it's invaluable. I worked in a gymnastics club and a football club, and working within those particular areas, I didn't get paid for those, but I did get valuable experience. But what I found is, when I became qualified, I didn't really have a huge client base. And therefore, I had to build up my client base from scratch, because what you find is, if you have people that are doing it for free, you don't get the commitment as you would if they pay for it. And you don't get that consistent client because you haven't been building up your own client base. And what I would say to anybody who is just starting out, whether you've just qualified or you're in the process of qualifying, this is the perfect time for you to start thinking about this and having that kind of increment of what you're going to charge, because you can start off quite small to get that experience. But think, if 15 years ago I was charging £50 an hour with hardly any of the skills that all you people in here have got, because I remember people would come, I'd talk to them about 15 minutes, and then I'd give them a hypnotherapy script for about 40 minutes. And I would never do that now. But I was charging £50 for really putting somebody under hypnosis, where they could have had a track that they could have downloaded. In that days, it was a CD. So when we talk about charging, this is the way I would go. And if you are charging quite a low hourly rate, then consider that they will pay probably double, if not more, if you show them what the result is and that transformation. So the second one is, somebody says they're starting their qualification and they just wonder how to get started within lockdown. I know there's a couple of other people have also said that they're at the process of starting up their business. And what I would say to you, this is the perfect time for you to start putting down the foundations of where you want your business to go and what you want to look like. It's always a work in process. And when we're quite new, we don't know what area we want to go in. And that's why when we're at that beginning of our stage, it's quite exciting, because we can go and try and work with different clients and find out what it is that we want. But also, it's so important to get that foundation right. So it's about researching your ideal client, finding platforms that work for you. And I'm not talking about being on Facebook, being on TikTok, being on Instagram, being on LinkedIn. I started on Facebook, and I still spend most of my time on Facebook, because I know that my clients in both my niches, because I have people who are in private practice, and also I still work with my sports and athletes, even though I don't charge too much for that, because I love working with them, and this is why I've adapted that. But I still get a good investment, and they get really good value for what they do. But also, you need to set in those procedures, those strategies, set up automation, get emails so that when you're learning what you're doing, you can share that to your audience, and you're getting them to know, like, and trust you. And because you're doing this learning, you're not committing any more time. So when you're delivering a a particular area that you're looking at, you produce a piece of content, you put it out to your audience, and you're teaching them as you go along. And something I always say is you only need to be a couple of steps above who you're teaching. If you think of a teacher in school, and I've got a friend who was a German and a French teacher, and she went into a new school and they said, you need to learn Spanish and you need to teach Spanish. And she'd never spoke Spanish in her life. But because she had that knowledge, she went away, and over the 6 weeks holiday, she taught herself Spanish, and then to an extent where she was better than the people she was teaching. And that is when you become an expert. The definition of an expert is that you know more than the people in that general consensus. So when you get your audience, you, even though you may be at the beginning of your journey, you still have that experience. And one thing that I said is that it's so important that you get these foundations done now, because you've got the time. I remember at the beginning of my training that you don't have any clients, and you can't really go out there and practice until you've got someone to practice on. So use this to get your marketing. Go out there, get yourself a Facebook page if you haven't got one. Think about where you want to get your clients, and do you want to go to a particular area. So I know there's a lot of people who want to work with triathletes in here. So with triathletes, there's so many areas you could work with. So you could have a group just for triathletes. And then you can work it out whether you want to work with the novice, the experienced, or the ones that do the Ironman kind of events. You don't have to niche down if you're training, because you need that opportunity to work with a range of people so you know what to do. So if you are, and the person who's put that, if you want to send me a message, then we can talk through it a little bit more. But yeah, I think actually starting your qualification now is a great time to do it, because you get to work out how to work online, and then you'll get those opportunities to work out on the field as well. The next one that I've put on there is getting more clients, which I think everybody wants to do. And to get more clients, you need to be visible. You need people to know who you are. They want to like you, and they need to trust you. And the only way you can do that is by building up your audience. I'll come down in 5 minutes, just on a live. And sorry about that, my daughter's asking me what I want for lunch. And then once you can get your audience, you can start nurturing them. That is why it's so important that if you have a Facebook group, this is your, what I call sales funnel, your customer journey. There are so many different people out there. You can't tailor what you do for everybody. There will be a few people that want to follow you. And you look at all the people on Instagram. Where do they send their followers? They send them to a Facebook group. You go to LinkedIn, have a look at the articles. They will be, I'll guarantee it, that DMing the people that are ideal customers and inviting them into their Facebook group. And that kind of initiative marketing works really well in our kind of industry, as long as you don't do it where it looks spammy. And so that's something that I teach in my Master the Inner Game of private practice. I'm going to be putting a program together for 12 weeks where you get to know your messaging and also work on getting more clients. And this is going to be more, as well as the strategy, about the psychological aspect, because I know so many people in here don't do Facebook Lives. There's a fear and anxiety over them, and I totally understand that. We know what to do. Some of you know that you need to get out there, but that money mindset is really dragging you down because you feel that you want to help people, and it's a bit of an issue if you charge more. We all have that, or so and so's charging less or charging more, or how can I charge more when they're doing this and they're more experienced than me? Well, if your offer is good enough and it's an unbelievable offer, then they will come and work with you. What people like about me may be very different to what people like about you, and that's why you're unique, and that's why you need to nurture your own clients so you get people into this sales funnel. And you need to get the start of the sales funnel. And everyone thinks this is the web page, your website. It is not your website. You need what's called a lead magnet, which is a free resource that gets people on your email list. Because we talk about social media, but we also need to talk about emails. Because what happens, like it happened last week, is Facebook decided they've changed their lives to live producer, and it doesn't work on most people's cameras are not up to date. So I had to download Firefox last week. I now downloaded Chrome beta, and I'm now be able to get onto the Facebook Live, but not everybody's worked that out yet. So, but if we've got email, and I'm going to put my hands up, it's not my biggest strength, and that's why I'm going to look at getting a VA to do that, because the content's there. I just need to send it out to email. But I have that list if anything happens, and if I've got anything important, then I can send it through them, not through social media. So we do need that mix of being out in the world where you live locally, getting your name out there. And we know we can't do that at the moment, but we can do it online, and we can do it through email by getting something that's valuable to your clients to get them onto that email list. Just one quick one, which is about brick and mortar. And I know that we talk about online a lot here, but a lot of you have come from that brick and mortar area, and it's about a new way to practice to protect therapists and clients. And I think if you have this physical space that you work from, it's about thinking how you're going to adapt that. So yes, it's great that we can all come online, but there will be clients that will want to come in, and I think it's really important to start adapting your operation procedures and your processes now while you're closed, to start thinking about what do you do to make people safe. And I think it'll be a long way off, but I know that we can all work online, and there's a lot of people now getting to know that. But I know that this person has their own therapy centre, so for them that is their business too. And I think it's about looking at a package, and I'm quite happy for that person, if they watching, to reach out to me, and we'll sit down and we'll try and work that out for you, give you that help if that's what you need, and I'll reach out for that. But we all need to be thinking, are we going to work in the future with clients that are out there on the field with social distancing? Now, if you aren't a physical therapist, then there is a need for, we can do it. We can think, right, this is our chair, and we make sure that they come in first and they sit down, and we disinfect that area that they touch every time they come in, and make sure we have if we have the space, 2 meters. So I don't know whether in this particular room there is 2 meter space, but they will be a way. It's just about thinking outside the box, and I'm happy to be that sounding board if you're there. If you're watching this, just give me a message. Let me know whether it helps. #replay if you're watching it on the replay. And I shall speak to you shortly. Take care.